February 21, 2022 was the day I was almost killed. And today, I'm going to tell you the full story. At a point in my life, due to some personal reasons, which I'm not going to disclose for now, I suddenly became homeless. Yep. With no place to go, I carried my bag and roamed the streets of Canada. I was like a refugee, basically looking for where to lay my head for the night. I explored Airbnbs till my credit card was maxed out. I also explored shelters, and I couldn't get a permanent place to lay my head for the night. So I kept going from place to place, carrying my big bag with my clothes and losing a lot of stuffs along the way. It was a very, very terrible period in my life. One day, I saw an ad on Kijiji for a room that matched my budget, something I was able to afford. I answered the ad, and I set up a meeting with the potential landlord. And when I arrived at this place, it was in a basement, and I ignored all the red flags because I needed a place to stay, somewhere that was going to be more permanent. Now, one of the red flags I ignored was it was not a legal basement because the windows were a little bit were small. I couldn't pass through the windows in case of a fire. Also, it wasn't a walkout basement. It means you needed to enter the house through the kitchen, then you went down. That was the second red flag. But because I was in a desperate mode, I needed a place to stay. And to help sweeten the pot, there was a recording studio in the basement. And that kind of sealed the deal for me. After living here for about a month, I went out. I was coming in. I walked into the kitchen, and I saw the landlady. She was cleaning up the kitchen. There were glasses everywhere. It was like a hurricane swept through the whole house. Broken bottles, broken chairs, plates everywhere. It was chaotic. She ignored me and continued cleaning, and I just didn't know what to say. So I just tiptoed over the glasses. I went to my room, locked the door. I couldn't help but wonder what happened. But later that night, I woke up to loud screams of people upstairs. I could hear someone, a male voice, was yelling expletives. I was smashing things against the wall. I could hear things breaking. I could hear very rude and vulgar comments. And I was scared. And I could hear glasses smashing and shattering everywhere. It now occurred to me that it's exactly who or what happened to cause what I saw earlier in the day. I did not sleep a wink that night. Early in the morning, I texted a DJ friend of mine who works at the studio and told me about my experience. He said there was someone in the house, the landlady's son, who needs to take his meds in order to be stable. So whenever he's off his meds, he kind of starts acting erratic. And my mind was like, why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you tell potential tenants about this? But it didn't happen again after that for a long time. Then one day, as I was about leaving the house, I saw a guy standing close to the door. I had never seen him before. He ignored me. He didn't say anything. He just passed. I kind of assumed he was this person. He was probably 5'9", 5'10", and very big build, and with like dreadlocks. So I ignored him and just went about my business. So about a month later, a new tenant joined us in the basement. And he was from Nigeria as well. He was an elderly gentleman from Nigeria and a pastor as well. And we kind of hit it off because he was my part of Nigeria. And we kind of like started, talking in our native language. And I felt more at home. And I also helped him settle down. He just came into Canada. I helped him settle down and helped him apply for jobs. And eventually he got a job with Walmart, which made him to work nights. So he was like working only nights in Walmart. One day he told me that he saw a strange looking fellow staring down at him, and he tried greeting him and he didn't get any response. And I kind of like briefed him of what happened before he became a tenant. And he was scared a little bit, I could tell. Well, who wouldn't? One day, at about 6 a.m. in the morning, I heard a loud bang, like someone smashed through a door. I opened my eyes. It wasn't my door. So I stood up, opened the door, and I saw that same guy standing, with his hands clenched in a fist. He broke the door off. The older gentleman, the older gentleman from Nigeria I told you about. And he turned and looked at me and said that I need to leave here right now. Then I heard a voice. It was the mom. The mom was there and was saying, "Oh, hey, don't you know he lives here? He's Martin. He lives here. He's harmless." He said, "No, he needs to leave here right now. That he's of the devil. He has taints of the devil. That I'm going to kill him and drag his body across the street." He was being very threatening. He was threatening to kill me. And the problem was there was only one way out of the house. And the mom was probably like 5'6", 5'5", frail looking. There was no way she was able to, I felt she'd be able to control the son. So I knew I was in between a rock and a hard place, and I needed to make a decision very, very fast. A small window of opportunity arose when the mom kind of like convinced the son to move up the stairs a little bit. I took that opportunity and grabbed my phone, and I slipped through the door and headed straight to the washroom. I hid behind the washroom door, but still left it open. So even if you pass through, you think that no one is in the washroom, but I was just behind the door. There I called 911. About 7 minutes later, the police came. I could hear the landlady walking through the house. She was still looking for me, saying, "The police are here." Did I call the police? I heard her voice and I came out. Said, "Did you call the police?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "They're here for you." But I wasn't able to come out of the house because he was blocking the entrance. Like I said, it was only one way in and one way out of the basement. So please, never rent this type of basement. No, it's not legal. It's not safe. In case anything happens, you need to be able to escape. But I was in a very desperate and very low point in my life, and I took it. Don't do it. So I made up my mind. I was going to battle ram myself and escape. I was going to use myself like a battling ram and hit whatever and make sure that I run outside and see the police, which I did. Unfortunately, when I was about doing that, I didn't see anybody. He was not there in front of the door at that point in time. I kind of like, ran out of the house and the police. I saw the police. There were two of them, and there was a police car. They took me to the police car, and I remember it was snowing heavily. The snow was about ankle length. It was really snowing heavily. They took me in the car and kind of asked me questions. You know, the person in the house and you're the tenant, and there was this other tenant at the basement as well. Is very quiet dudes. Is from from Asian descent. About he I saw him running out as well. He was grabbing he grabbed his laptop, his iPad. He ran out of the house to and join me in the police car. He started telling the police that this is not the first time. Even the previous tenants that were here, they've had this kind of clash with this boy before. And then the police um, pulled up his record, and he had record of assault, his battery and all that stuff. And of course, within 5 minutes, the whole street was flooded with police. The police cars, it felt like an episode of SWAT. I kid you not, the road was blocked off on both ends and no cars were allowed to pass. Now, this was even more important because the police thought he had a weapon because he opened the door as soon as I ran out. He was waving his hands. He had like some sort of scarf, a red scarf wrapped around his hands, and the police were shouting, "He has a gun! He has a gun!" Something like that. But of course, I didn't see a gun. I didn't actually see any weapon. But the police were concerned, and about 5 to 7 minutes later, the whole place was crawling with police. So we were taken to the police station to write our statements, and they kind of like started asking us about the schematics of the house because they wanted to gain entrance because the guy didn't want to come out, and the Asian guy was just been in the house for a long time. He kind of like gave them, started telling them places where they can enter from the roof and all of that. I think they called them like some special ops people, like SWAT, this kind of people, and they and came in through the roof and were able to apprehend the guy and tase him and took him away. Now, I had an interview that morning for a job which I applied for, and I wanted to work at it for the government because I felt that was going to change my life because I was in a really dark place. And it was supposed to be at 12, I remember. And by 11, I was still at the police station. I told the police, since this guy's been captured, I'm able to go back and have an interview in an hour. They said, yeah, I'm free to go. They took me in the police car with the other Asian dude and drove us home. Got home, tried my code on the keypad. It didn't work, and we knocked for about like 5 or 7 minutes. Someone opened the door. That was the landlady opened the door and said, yeah, the police took him. I said, okay. I headed to my room, and what I saw brought me to tears. Everything I owned was damaged, was smashed. A laptop. So I was working from home at that time. A laptop, my work laptop, my work monitor and CPU, everything was smashed, damaged. I had a PS3 was damaged, my clothes, everything. Like everything was shredded and smashed. Everything I had. Knelt down and I started crying. The landlady, the mother said, "Oh yeah, this happened because you called the police. Yada yada yada." And don't worry, I will replace these things for you. Replace them for you. Um, but you cannot stay here right now because it's all messed up. You can go get somewhere else, somewhere cheap. I'm gonna pay for it. And yeah, when this place is all fixed, you come back and all that. I was like, okay, sounds good. Called my mom and I told her what happened. She said, do not collect anything from her. Just be glad that you're alive. All those things can be replaced. And so I kind of like left the house for a bit. And now the problem was, where was I going to stay? So a friend of mine had a colleague of mine who actually I've never met before because we work online. We just met in fact virtually. Had a friend who had like a cabin house, like a house in the woods, and it was winter. I went there to stay. It was cold. There was a portable heater, but it was too small to cover the whole room. So I was basically sleeping in the cold. So just to get extra money, once in a while I do background acting, where you see movies, people in the background. So I do that stuff, and of course, I want to be like a serious actor one day. It's one of the things that I want to do in my life. And I saw this ad, and I responded to the ad, and they said, yeah, I could come in, but I needed to wear like a black shirt, and I didn't have any on me, but I had at the place where I left. And I said, okay, I was gonna go grab it, then go for the movie the next day. So February 21, 2022, I arrived at the house and I tried my code again. It didn't work. The lady opened the door and said, "Oh, you're here." I said, "Yes." This was around 8 p.m. I said, "Yes." I said I needed to just grab my stuff so I can leave. I had something to do the next day. He said, "No, it's not been fixed yet." I said, No worries. I could just find it's just a spot. I could just make room where I can just lay for the night. Then the next day I'm gone." She said, "Okay." So I came into the house. The place was all messed up, so I kind of like my door was broken into two. It was off the hinges, and I kind of like made the bed a little bit, pushed off stuff from the bed just a little where I could sleep. And before I slept, so basically what I usually do when I'm sleeping, I usually have my headphones on, listen to music. So I just sleep off with the music playing. But because I had something to do the next day, and I was like listening to music, so I didn't want to waste the battery, so I just wanted to get it fully charged. So because of that reason, I did not put on my headphones, and that probably saved my life. Sometimes God will always be there for his people. God will always make situations where when something bad is about to happen to you, he's going to reveal it beforehand. And God revealed certain things to me, made me see certain things that made it possible for me not to be killed that night. The door was broken. I was looking at the door, I was laying down. Then I saw someone, I saw someone just walk past the door into the room, which is the room, like I said, the Nigerian guy, his room. Someone just entered that room, and the room is adjacent mine. So my first thought was, wait, this guy's here. Wait, if that's the guy, he would probably come into the room and say, "Hey," and they'll speak our language, right? And I found it strange. I saw someone just walking past. So what I did was I kind of like got a door together, kind of like put it in, and just hung it on the hinge a little bit. And that was probably another thing that saved my life. After I did that, I went to bed and I slept off. Probably about midnight, I just heard a loud bang, like someone broke into the house. And because the door was on the hinge, it wasn't like open. I heard a noise and I raised my head. As I raised my head, I felt something coming down on my head. It was all blurry. I saw something like an object just coming down on my head. As I raised my head, it hit me on the side of the head. I didn't know what it was. I went backwards, but I could tell that the person wasn't expecting me to move my head. So that movement caught the person unawares. And as I raised my head, I looked at this person. The person was like a mummy, wrapped like a mummy. It was like a ninja, all the way to the eyes. I could only see the eyes. It was wrapped from head to toe with gloves, with blankets. It was like a mummy, like a real life mummy. And I was so scared. I was very, very scared. My mind was, this guy has been released by the police. He's here to kill me. And I was screaming. Remember, I was in the basement. And the basement was really, it's an older house. So I'm sure no one probably hear me scream. I was screaming. Now, this person tried to hit me again, and I saw it. I saw what it was. It was a hammer. Now, the hammer was in a transparent paper bag. So this person was trying to basically get away with murder because the hammer was concealed in the bag. It was transparent, and the person was all wrapped up, gloves and everything. So the person wanted to, whack me, and I don't know. Sorry, I get some chills when I talk about this. So the person swung the hammer again, and I kind of went out of the way, and the hammer fell off. It fell off the hand, and that's why I saw it was a hammer in a transparent bag. And the person also had the person brought out like a steel, like a rod, like a steel pole, and that was used to hit my leg, and I knew at that point it was kill. It was I'm about to be killed, and I just needed to survive. I just needed to get out of the house. So the person swung again with the pole. I held it, and as I held it, I felt I was bigger than the person, so I held it. I drew it from the person's grasp. The person fell backwards, and the clothing that used to cover the face all fell off. What I saw surprised me. It was my landlady. So at this point, I'm scared. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. My mind was like, no, it's not possible. This she's a pastor. I've been to her church, right? She feeds the homeless like regularly. She has like a company that does that. She wouldn't do this, would she? And I started putting like now like my thoughts, my mind was just racing. Was it just someone else? She can't. She's not big enough to, what's the plan? You had a hammer in a bag. What's the plan? Whack me. What's the how do you? I'm about 6'1", and she's about probably 5'8", and she's frail looking. A lot of things were going through my mind, and I just pushed her and ran out. Just was running out. I think she got a hammer and threw it at my back. I fell briefly on the stairs and stood up and ran out of the house. I was barefoot. I didn't have a phone, nothing on me. And I think it snowed. It snowed like the day before. So it was the 2 days before. So the place was all messy. And I was barefoot. I went to the neighbor's house. I was banging on the door. No one answered me, and I had only one thing in my mind. I looked towards the door where I ran out from. I saw her peeping out of the door, looking at me. I said, "No, this woman is crazy. No one is gonna believe me. There's no one. Like I'm just a nobody that's gonna appear from nowhere, and she's like this neighborhood saint, right?" I started running. There was a police station I knew I knew there was a police station somewhere. I think I'd seen it before, where they took me earlier. So I knew I had to get there. It was a long run. I kept on running. I did not stop. Barefoot in the snow. The ice was piercing my legs. I didn't care. I was high on adrenaline. I was running. It got to the police station. This was after midnight. I saw a police officer. He was through the glass door. I was screaming. He couldn't hear me. He told me to speak into the phone. He was scared. Seeing just a dude appear from nowhere. He was scared. And after I was able to articulate some sentences, he let me in. The first thing he told me was, "You bleeding?" I said, "No, I mean, go to the house." He said, "No, you're bleeding." I said, No. Go to the house. She's dead. She wants to kill me. I said, "No, you are bleeding." I looked at my clothes. It was covered in blood. And I felt a little bit lightheaded. I was hit with a hammer. He called the paramedics about 2-3 minutes later. They were there. They knew I was in shock, so they were trying to like calm me down. They're putting things on me and taking my blood pressure and all that, trying to stop the bleeding. And I was there screaming, "No, go to the house. That's my address. Go to the house. She's there. She's up to something. She wants to hide you. Please." I was more concerned how she was going to spin this. I was more concerned than whatever pain I was feeling. At that point in time, I wasn't feeling any pain. But I was more concerned about how did she plan all this, because I was in the house by 8 o'clock and by 12. What was going on, and what else does she have under her sleeves? So I was more concerned. They told me, "No worry, we took you to the hospital. We're going to send some police officers to the house." So they took me in the ambulance and they drove me to the hospital. And a police officer was with me as well. I got to the hospital. They sent like a police photographer. He came, took pictures of me, and they told me, "Oh yeah, they went to the house and she's been arrested." Then I just breathed a sigh of relief, right? Like, okay. Then the pain, and I started feeling the pain. The pain, it was like I was hitting my head against the metal. It was crazy. Then when it was my turn, I saw the doctor. I got stitches, and he gave me a tetanus shot as well. And they asked me where am I going to sleep. I said I have like a cabin, and it's somewhere in the woods where I could stay. The police officer agreed to drive me Now, when we got there, we kept on, we got there. It was off road. We were entering the road. He told me something. It's like, does someone live here? I could tell he was scared. I said, yeah, I do. I'm staying here for now. And eventually we saw the cabin. And yeah, that's when I told him what next. He said, they're going to get back to me. I couldn't sleep. I had a serious headache. And I was very, very scared that someone was going to come in and attack me. So I couldn't sleep. And yeah, this left a very, very big scar, not just physically, but emotionally as well. And it increased my anxiety and, trust for people. I don't sleep at night. And I don't believe in taking medication to sleep. So kind of like keep staring at the door anytime I sleep. And it's not been easy for me. So, after the police later called me and told me that they didn't find the weapon that I described, and because of that, I couldn't go into the house to get a court order for me to go in, and I had to wait for that court order. Meanwhile, I should get a police record. Actually, I knew I couldn't live in where I was, so I started looking for another place, basically. Then after a while, the police told me that they got like the court order. I could go in to take everything, but I needed to go in just once. So I went in. They assisted me. I went in, grabbed all my stuff, and I left the house. I left the house. It was the worst night of my life. Up till now, it's going to be 3 years, and in February, I have not recovered from this. It's been terrible. And so the update is we're going to court, and it's been dragged on for a while because I was supposed to go to court last year, and she said she was sick. And so they kind of got shifted till 2025, this January. And so we're going to go to court, and she's pleading not guilty. So it means we have to go to court. And yeah, so I'm going to keep you guys updated about the whole thing, how it all pans out. Honestly, I'm just happy to be alive. I'm just happy to be alive. A lot of things I do right now, I'm doing it because I always think I could have died like 3 years ago. I could have died like 3 years ago, and nobody would know. My mom, my brothers, they wouldn't have known. They would say, hey, this guy doesn't call us anymore. He just went to Canada and stopped calling. My friends will know, my family will know. And I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm just grateful to be alive. I'm just grateful to be alive. Always be prayerful and always trust God to bring you out of any situation at all. He's able to do that. I'm going to keep you updated about the court proceedings. And yeah, hopefully everything will work out exactly the way God planned it to work out. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you learned a couple things from it. Not to scare you, but just to let you know how my life's been lately. Have a good one and stay blessed. Peace.